Hello, good morning or good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Anika Tang. You can also call me Ellen. I'm known as Ellen because my online persona or social media accounts are called Ellenope, so it's Ellen for short. Now, for my hobbies and interests, I love creating characters and stories. I am obsessed with writing stories. And now, why is my story worth paying attention to? Simply put, I want to create stories using art. Art can express a lot of things that usually words cannot even express. And so there are so many forms of media and where they express these stories that touch millions and billions of people because of its art. And now to niche it down, I primarily focus on creating stories with anime, or that is what I aspire to do. However, I will solely focus on creating a webtoon series or a manhwa, a Korean comic, in the future instead of anime, because I've made a timeline so far about my plan and what I want to do. If you go to YouTube and scroll through many anime reviews, you can see that some of them express stories about having their life change because of an anime or like a story that involves some sort of story with art to help express itself. Like for example, this anime called Your Lie in April, I've seen a video where it's changed someone's life, even saved it. And for example, Re:Zero, I've seen people also compare their lives or themselves to the main character as well. And so anime, or be it any story with artworks in it, it can change someone's life. It can even save it. Like for example, a recent anime that premiered this year was Takopi's Original Sin. And in that short show, it was able to capture the realistic emotions and experiences of abuse victims. And so it really touched or represented the people who relate to those issues. And so I think that art also has the ability to express things that you normally cannot touch on, or things that are normally extremely difficult to talk about or express in media. However, through art, you can express it, and it can also touch millions or thousands of people who relate or get touched by that story or media. And that's exactly why I want to create art. I want to use art to tell a story and create similar types of stories or artworks that could save millions of people someday. I have a huge interest in psychology and storytelling for that reason. You know, art has also changed my life as well. Anime. I don't think I would have been the same person today if not for anime and other forms of shows in media that gave me new perspectives and formed my values that I have today. Even changed my mind at the times I needed it. And for example, when you're a student, you go through a lot of tough experiences, right? Then there are shows or animations that portray that type of feelings of frustration that you can relate to. And so being able to watch something like that as you're going through it, it really helps. And I've seen many people who have been helped by that exponentially. If you go through Reddit posts or Quora or whatever social media people can express or talk about themselves, you can find a lot of people who have shared the same sentiment that art and storytelling, these pieces of media, some of them have saved their lives. I just want to contribute myself to that someday. Because it saved me, it saved my friends. So I want to save more like that as well. And so, going here into Benilde, everything, it all comes down to that dream of mine. Actually, there was no other college I wanted to go to except for Benilde. That's why I didn't apply for anything else. I wanted this from the start, or from first grade. It's been a long dream of mine. And so I've dedicated my life into this goal, dream, or passion of mine, to the fact that I actually live for it. It's my reason to keep going. It's my reason to work hard. It's the reason why I'm here. And so I want to create something someday. Something to be remembered and something that can change or save people's lives. Alright, now for the next question. Describe an advocacy you're passionate about and actively practice. Alright, so for that dream I talked about, I actually made a plan back then in senior high school. I might update it in college, but back then this is what I decided to plan. So this is what my senior high school self said. Due to focusing on improving my academics and personal skills so much in senior high school, I plan to improve both my interpersonal and intrapersonal skills in college. I'm actually already doing that. Alright. During the 4 years in college, I also aspired to create a presence in social media. in order to market my characters and my story in advance. So I actually already have a YouTube channel. Back then when I was 11 years old, one of my videos exploded and got 500,000 views. And so I want to recreate that. I've only got 1,000 subscribers so far. And so in college, I want to post again on my YouTube channel and primarily focus on my future story in the making, which is called Infinite Limit. Actually, I want to take this opportunity to introduce Infinite Limit. This is my goal and dream for the future. My senior high school stuff already explained it in the plan, so I'm gonna go ahead and read it. My purpose is to become a webtoon, manhwa, or comic creator in the future. Specifically, I want to create my own story called Infinite Limit and present it to the world. Within this comic, I hope to teach valuable lessons about life, philosophical challenges, and psychologically deep topics. To be able to speak or represent the hearts of multiple people across the world, Infinite Limit is going to be intentionally made to feel relatable to a diverse group of people because it is heavily character-centered. Now, Infinite Limit has a rich variety of cast members. This was intentional to gain a more general or wider audience. So, for example, if character A is not really that relatable to you, but it is for other people, but then character B is different from character A and you actually find yourself relating to character B, then that helps you become more engaged and feel for the story. And so that's what I mean by having a diverse set of cast members in order to make the general audience wider. Alright, now going to the challenges portion of my dream or goal. This is a heavily big aspiration due to the length of the story that I have created or have as my vision. I have been creating this for at least 5 years now. At present, right now, as I'm reading this, it's actually been 6 years since I started envisioning Infinite Limit since around 2019. I have a good idea on how long this project will be and how long it could actually take. For instance, Infinite Limit, or IL for short, will have 3 parts. However, even in just the first part of Infinite Limit, it already has 15 seasons. This is due to the fact that it follows a similar format to shonen anime or manga, because what inspired me were the long-running series of One Piece or Naruto. Now to continue, within these 15 seasons there are 22 different sagas, or around 160 arcs. On the bright side, Infinite Limit's second and third part will be shorter, and I estimate it to be around 8 seasons each. As a result, the length of my story could even rival the length of the longest running stories such as One Piece or Pokemon. Ultimately, the first part of Infinite Limit will already take 36 years to complete if I publish comic with breaks in between seasons. To get to the point, this will require a lifelong dedication to overcome this pressure. I've made it into the purpose of my life. That is why I've dedicated to it half a decade, and I want to continue to persevere. To be honest, personally, Infinite Limit is my hyperfixation. I don't feel as easily burnt out when I do something related to Infinite Limit. In fact, I feel a joy or a heavy passion that I can't feel anywhere else. So this purpose has carried me through my most difficult adversities. It will continue to push me to strive harder and keep going. Now here's a background story of where this began. So we're gonna rewind back to 2019. I had maladaptive daydreaming, which caused me to imagine a lot of stories. One of these stories ended up sticking with me long term, and it ended up as Infinite Limit, or IL. However, my real or concrete journey began when I entered De La Salle of College St. Benilde Senior High School at 2023. Benilde was already my plan from the start, since I heard from my sister who graduated as Benildean alumni that is heavily an art-centered school. That's why even back in junior high school or grade 8, I decided I wanted to go to Benilde for college. So I locked in. To continue the story of what my senior high school self said about my college plan. So I plan to create a social media presence. I plan to do this by posting a lot of shorts of my characters, either doing something fun or doing something relatable, as well as mixing some lore or serious topics to make people more curious, to learn more and more. Now I plan to create these shorts in YouTube and TikTok, since it has one of the best formats for shorts, as well as marketing yourself as an artist. Now, other than improving my social media presence in college, I also want to improve my artistic skills. Mainly, how fast I draw a comic per page. I want to improve my drawing skills to make it shorter and shorter in order to achieve my dream efficiently, and also to learn how to improve the quality of my artworks. That's why when the org event starts, my top pick for the organization that I want to join is Draw Inc. because it is primarily focused on comics, manhwa or manga. That is the field I want to pursue. Now that was the college plan, let's go to the career plan. So after 3 to 4 years in college, I do not plan to immediately begin Infinite Limit because I want to focus on financial stability and gaining a more concrete expectation of what my schedule should look like when I do started to maintain work-life balance. To be realistic, my comic may or may not make money in its early years depending on how well my social media presence has become. I should expect to multitask my comic while going to work. So I plan to focus on working at my job for at least 4 years, in order to gain a good experience for my resume and having that stability. Additionally, during these 4 years, I will continue to focus on my social media presence or fan base. Now, this is a side plan, but I could also start a short comic series that is not Infinite Limit during these 4 years so that I can build experience for a more realistic expectation of what I need before Infinite Limit. This would mean by around 2033, at 27 years old, I should begin Infinite Limit officially by then. Realistically, I need a team to create this goal in an efficient amount of time. This is where my connections or interpersonal skills could come in handy. However, if I am not able to create a reliable team by then, I will have to begin Infinite Limit as a solo project for at least 2 to 5 seasons. Ideally, 2 to 5 seasons as a comic by chapter. After those early seasons, I could create a small team and a decent studio by then. I could use my fan base as a source for dedicated workers or teammates, as well as scouting for reliable workers elsewhere. By creating this team that could help me create IL, I might be able to finish it from the first season to its last in around 30 to 40 years. Ideally with less time, depending on the tools and technology that will exist by then. However, if this proceeds to be a solo project without a team, despite the amount of time I had to scout, then finishing Infinite Limit will take 50 to 60 years. That is why creating a dedicated fan base is really important. Now doing that, expanding connections, creating a short comic that is not Infinite Limit for experience, figuring out the good work-life balance schedule in around the first 4 to 6 years. Then afterwards I can start Infinite Limit. Alright, that's it for the career plan. Now for other life goals, I want to stay active. During breaks, I want to travel and stay fit because I am aware that my health could be a challenge during Infinite Limit's development, based on similar creators facing common back or arm issues. Hence, I aspire to stay in touch with reliable and meaningful connections in the future and also stay physically fit. Now, lastly, where does this all lead? Keeping all that has been mentioned in mind, once I officially start Infinite Limit, I will proceed in its creation as a solo project for around 3 to 5 years before creating a reliable and sustainable team for this project. Ideally, Infinite Limit ends up being shorter than my estimate at present. That is why during my story writing in college, I want to cut down the content for a more realistic duration. Ultimately, I would finish Infinite Limit by around 60 to 70 years old. Ideally, depending on what has been cut down, what resources or new technology that I will have in the future. That will lessen the amount of time I need to finish Infinite Limit. Then I would either retire peacefully or work on a new project that I could be passionate about. Hopefully by then, I would have helped make the world a better place. By using Infinite Limit and influencing the people around the world at that time to have new perspectives of life in the world. How to live our lives in the way that could improve humanity and yourself. And so now, we're gonna conclude this with my call to action. Now future me edited over here. This is where to check out my current channel, LNOP. And this is where to check out my Instagram to see my journey as process from a beginner artist years ago to now. And I hope to keep improving. And as for my TikTok page, that will soon come to be. So stay in check, keep in tabs. And that is all for my plan and my future self. If you're watching this, I hope you've succeeded. And that is all for my introduction. This is Anikatang, LNOP. So this is Ellen, signing off.